Hi there, I'm Kevin Benedict, Senior Analyst for the Center for Digital Intelligence, and I want to welcome Mike Kail back to us tonight. Mike Kail is the CTO of Cybrick, and I want you to introduce Cybrick again to those that are just joining us for the first time.
Sure, thanks for having me, Kevin. So Cybrick is a cloud platform that seamlessly embeds code and application security testing into the software development lifecycle with an automation orchestration technique or policy-driven framework.
I can see that is very important, especially with more devices and more applications on those devices being added all the time. How do you make sure there's not big security gaps there?
Right, so you have to, the policy approach really provides context around the application deployment and code deployment. I mean, so the stat is there's going to be 111 billion new lines of code committed to source code repos this year. So the developers are developing it or committing at a high velocity, and security is like standing still or flat-footed. So how do we even the playing field with automation orchestration and instead of trying to scale out human capital?
Oh, absolutely. Mike, you've also talked about applications having different contexts. Now, there's a lot of privacy issues both here and in Europe, and so different applications and different size companies are going to have different requirements. Why don't you just give us some insight into what are the challenges there?
So the application context, I mean, the valuable part of that is the data, whether that's personally identified information a la Equifax, whether it's payment card information such as your credit card numbers, or just other information that you don't want exposed. And I think the forthcoming regulations that go live, I believe in May of 2018, called GDPR, so General Data Protection Regulation, that go live in the EU. There's a lot of concern and a heartburn over like, how do they address this? Now, I don't know where all of my data is, perhaps. How do I finally get contextual-based perimeters around that and know which application and which users touch that data? So analogy I've used, if you're familiar with financial controls and Sarbanes-Oxley, that says, okay, do I have a repeatable process of who accesses the financial systems? This is the same for data. Like, where does my data live? Who accesses it? And is there ability to move it somewhere I don't know about?
Absolutely. I spent my early part of my career in IT, and I remember when we were upgrading legacy applications, one of the things we would do is we'd say, who's using this? And we wouldn't even know.
Right.
So then somebody said, well, let's just unplug it and listen to who screams. Because they lose track of who's accessing data and where data is kept.
No, that problem still exists today, just at a greater scale, as we were talking about with the proliferation of devices and cloud and different services being used that the CIO may not know about. So it comes down to how do you provide visibility on a continuous basis, whether you're the CIO or CEO or board. I think this is now, in this age, this has become a board level concern, and executives are losing their jobs over this.
Right, so Cybrick is a bunch of experienced CTOs and smart people from the Silicon Valley here that got together to solve what big problems that you guys were all experiencing in other companies.
So our CTO was CTO and CISO at Sentinel Benefits on the East Coast prior, and was at Fidelity and B of A. So he comes from the financial services, and so he had obviously financial regulations. I came from the tech background of Yahoo and Netflix. But both of us had the same problem or challenge. We were tired of buying more and more tools each year that were next gen or had a better algorithm or trying to solve for X. And then we needed more employees to run them.
So then you just had increased
sprawl of tools,
upgrading issues.
And then we also talk about this well-published shortage of cyber talent. And I've blogged about this, like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, or talking about the same thing over and over, and that's what we keep doing about this. So what we architected was this platform to converge all of the existing open source and commercial tools into an automation orchestration framework that lets the cyber engineers do more higher order things and collaborate with development, which has never happened before. So it's this culture of DevSecOps. Think about what DevOps did to merge development and operations. We need to bring security into that as well. It can't be like below the fold.
And then treat it like an asset management application so you know the status of everything, where it's in the process, make sure every new application or development project is in that.
And one legacy acronym we've used, or I've talked about, is application lifecycle management, which people have bad memories of. But you think about application security assurance, like that's what we're providing. So now from the time a developer commits code to the build to the deployment, we do testing continuously and correlate all across those different
Wow.
functions.
Well, that's brilliant. Well, this is a big and an increasing complex and challenging problem, and I'm glad there's smart guys like you here in the Valley taking care of that for us.
We're trying.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for joining us.